Hello.
Hello, what's up?
Hi, Shannon. Hey. Um, the sky is up, which, by the way, is where aliens come from. But we're not talking about that today. I wish, boy, do I have some stories for you. But no, we are talking about zombies instead. Hello, everyone. My name is Andre, and this is
Scary talk?
Shannon, and
Oh, okay.
this is Scary Talk, and we're leaving that in. Welcome back, episode 18. Can you
We are
believe it?
professionals.
I know, I know. At 18, we can watch porn now.
Really? Now? Okay.
Yeah, actually, right now. Hi.
Everyone prepare for quite the episode.
Um, 18 episodes. Wow, remember when we were just younglings? When we started with like episode 1, Demons and Witches? Never forget.
That was crazy. That was like a day ago,
I
right?
know.
We pre-record, by the
I
way.
know.
Just kidding, we don't.
Can you imagine 18 hours on like oh, and the extra episodes too.
Yeah, how even would that
Yeah.
happen?
When you did the geese episode, it wasn't even like real. Like you were just in a bedroom and then you added like outside like ambience noise in the background. Like it was just an audio
Yeah,
file.
Andre was the geese. Hire him for voice acting.
Okay, so zombies. Hello everyone, we're talking about zombies today. If zombies scare you, run away. Listen, we're gonna get real, okay? They're coming.
Do zombies scare people
Zombies,
now? Like,
well,
still?
like probably real ones would. But the idea
Yeah.
of them is probably just hilarious to people, but not to me because I've watched the Resident Evil movies. I've played some of the games. They're coming. They're real. They're coming. It's gonna happen at some point. We're gonna fuck up. We're gonna create some weird like neurotoxin, and everyone's gonna become a zombie, and it's gonna be our fault. So
I hope that like one of the toxins you talk about, or like one of the ways people become zombies, is like through gluten, because it seems that everyone just hates gluten for some reason, and I would love for that to be the source of like zombieism.
that's funny. Can you imagine like all the people that are like gluten intolerant end up being like our saviors when the zombie apocalypse comes? Uh,
Oh no, I don't like that because they would like really hold that over our
I
heads
know.
for like the rest
I
of
know.
civilization.
I told you gluten wasn't good for you.
Oh my god.
I told you not to eat that bread, Karen. Um, now I'm gonna,
Karen didn't listen, and now she's eating my
yeah,
arm.
now I'm gonna have to kill you. um, okay, so I want you to go first. You're gonna tell us.
Okay.
Okay, so just tell us what you're gonna tell us.
I have so much to say, and I think one of the reasons I have so much to say is because zombies have kind of become integrated into our cultural society.
Yeah,
Like, it's such like a norm. Like, everyone asks you, like at a late night party, like, hey, what are you gonna do with the zombie
yeah.
apocalypse? And you're just like, I don't know. And when you originally asked me that, I was like, well, I'm gonna be dead. But lucky for you, I actually put a tiny bit of thought into what might happen if I'm lucky to
Oh,
survive.
I'm glad you have a plan now.
But
I'm glad. Um,
a slight plan, just a
would you like
little
to give
one.
us some quick zombie history first?
Oh, I would love to. So this was actually pretty fun to research because I actually was surprised to find that this isn't really something that reaches very deep into our historical roots. It's kind of a recent
Hmm.
thing. I mean, the first ones, or the first civilization to really kind of subscribe to the idea of the undead being dangerous would be the ancient Greeks, apparently, which I didn't know.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so apparently archaeologists have unearthed a lot of ancient graves from the Greeks, and they found that skeletons were pinned down by heavy boulders or heavy objects and rocks, and it seems like it was done purposefully, almost as if they were afraid of what would happen if they didn't prevent the dead bodies from moving. They thought, this one's gonna reanimate, we gotta pin it down.
Damn.
Which is, yeah, that's something else. And then obviously anyone who studied anything medical knows from the history of learning about the human body, doctors would dig up the graves of people
Hmm.
to use the
Yeah.
corpses, and those graves oftentimes would have cages around them because when they were buried, people were afraid that they would come back to life.
Or maybe
So
people were afraid that doctors would come and steal the bodies.
See, that was the second response, is after they started sealing the bodies, then it was like, okay, maybe we need to continue doing this because people keep digging up our dead.
That's crazy. Well, but like, why would people even have that fear? Like, did something ever happen?
Well, yeah, stuff has happened, but mostly the origins of zombies would appear in Haiti, where I don't think people in America or even England would have heard about it quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But before I jump to Haiti, I want to talk about Mesopotamia,
Okay.
ancient Mesopotamia. So this is
And
actually
guys, in
recorded.
case you guys were confusing it with modern Mesopotamia.
Yeah, it's a real thing, guys. We're smart. So the Ishtar, the goddess Ishtar, they have kind of like not a scripture. I guess scripture is the wrong word, but a little ancient writing that says, "If you do not open the gate for me to come in, I shall smash the door and shatter the bolt. I shall smash the doorpost and overturn the doors. I shall raise up the dead, and they shall eat the living, and the dead shall outnumber the living." And this is probably one of the first written documents of discussing something dead coming to eat your ass,
Cute.
basically. So we didn't have the word zombie until we come to Haiti.
Uh-huh.
So this started in Haitian folklore. This is a very popular, well-known thing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, a dead person is revived by the act of necromancy, and then in the Haitian culture, they would call it a bokor, which is essentially a sorcerer or a witch.
Okay.
The bokor is opposed by a priest, and it's kind of like a necromancy versus voodoo. So there's like the good and bad, but then so the bokor raises your dead, creates a zombie, and the zombie is under the control of the bokor as a personal slave, no will of its own. So that's the origin of the word zombie, but they spelled it Zombi. There was no E. That's kind of something that was added by the English.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main point of origin that we can tell.
Interesting.
One of the first books to expose Western culture to the concept of the voodoo zombie was The Magic Island by W.B. Seabrook in 1929. So already you can tell, like, that was only almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised because I thought, why wouldn't there be a lot of like talk about raising the dead? But I mean, if you want to stretch it, I guess the furthest one would be Jesus Christ. But he wasn't a zombie, supposedly.
I mean, do we know that for sure?
Well, I don't know, because how do we classify a zombie? That's one of the questions we'll have to raise.
Did you ask him for a comment?
I did not. I forgot to ask Jesus.
You know that you can message God on Facebook Messenger? Like, there's a God, I guess, like, bot chat where you can, like, talk to God.
Can he tell you your future, or is that not, like, even a Christian thing?
I didn't actually ever try it, but I do know that, like, it responds, like, fast. As it should. I mean, it's basically like a clever bot. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I'll ask God later. So we have 1929 as the first occurrence of this kind of reaching the Western culture in a book, like in the form of a book. And this was obviously about Haiti and voodoo cults. And then zombies were introduced into the cinema. That was kind of obviously the correct thing to do with something so fashionable as The Dead. So this happened in the 1930s, and it lasted as long as the 60s, obviously continuing on today. But there were lots of notable films. Walked with a Zombie in 1943, Plan 9 from Outer Space in 1959. As you've already mentioned, what was it? Resident Evil? Is that?
I mean, yeah, but those are modern, but yeah.
Living Dead, yeah. So those movies, and Warm Bodies, for those of you who want to have sex with a zombie. I'm not going to judge you. So another aspect of the Haitian voodoo, which is kind of interesting and could apply to the larger folklore of zombies, is soul dualism. And I find that interesting. So basically, it's this idea that a zombie is missing half of its soul, the flesh or the spirit. Obviously, in this case, since it is walking flesh and bones, they would be missing the spirit part.
Yeah.
So And I just want to make a historical note that a lot of the concept of zombies in Haiti was influenced by slavery. Slave drivers on the plantations, sometimes voodoo priests, they all feared zombification because they, it's kind of like a big metaphor for slavery at large. They were under their control, they were forced to do things. So, yeah. And then,
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That like Haitian like sugar plantation owners would um what you
yeah.
said. Yes, I've heard about that.
Yeah, and then I figured that you would cover it a little bit later, but I just want to kind of touch on it now. But tetrodotoxin, that's the poison from a pufferfish. That's one of the ways in which you would be able to mimic death and have someone be controlled by your verbal wishes.
Yes, I have a couple of words on
Yeah.
that. Yeah, actually. So yes, I mean, I think like a good doctor would be able to tell that you're not actually dead,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. There's a lot of doctors around.
Yeah, you never know.
um,
So I have two
Interesting.
examples in history where this has happened, or at least we don't know how it happened, but we know something happened here and it isn't right, and it kind of screams zombies. So, in one case, this is in a 1997 article in the British medical journal The Lancet. A Haitian woman who appeared to be dead was buried in a family tomb only to reappear 3 years later. An investigation revealed that her tomb was filled with stones, and her parents agreed to admit her to a local hospital. And the 3 year gap, that could easily be explained by the plantations using her as a slave. So it's like
Hmm.
you bury your dead, and then the slave owners come to pick her up later. So,
Die. Like you're not even allowed to die. Like nope, get up,
yeah,
work.
that's literally horrible. Like, it's awful. It's really sad. That's and it's weird how this need for control has evolved into something monstrous, which I guess in theory a lot of things derive from that, like werewolves and vampires, but it's really it's really interesting and serious.
I mean, it's not even a need for control. It's just a need for like hands for labor, really, which is all about greed, isn't it? So it's really more about
Money
that.
is going to be the end of us.
Yeah, money is gonna cause zombies. Everyone, stop using money.
All right, so
Interesting.
um I before we get any deeper into this, I kind of do want to touch on the many differences of zombies because my god, there's so many. Like World War Z
Yeah,
portrays them as super fast and Brad Pitt doesn't even know what to do, you know what I mean? And then there's the slow
yeah,
zombies like in Shaun of the Dead that are just brainless and just walk really slow, or The Walking Dead where
yeah.
they're just there to be killed so that people can have romantic dialogue later. I don't know. Do all zombies eat brains? Do zombies only eat flesh? How rapidly would you turn into a zombie if you were bitten? And what I found really interesting in my research is, does it even matter if you're bitten? Is the virus something that's going to be spread through the air, through the water, through touch? Like it could literally be
Well,
anything.
that's the stuff that I'm gonna. Yeah, like that's the stuff that I'm gonna talk
Okay.
about. That there's different ways a zombie apocalypse could happen, and like yeah, like the reason zombies are different, and for example, like different
Yeah.
different mediums is because they usually have all like a specific reason, and they're all kind of different,
Yeah.
and so they can make them faster or slower or eat this or eat that. But continue.
Okay. So those are some questions to think about before we reach Andre. But something I found in my research that was very fascinating and kind of segues us into our next portion of this conversation is the fact that the US government actually has a zombie apocalypse plan already drafted and viewable for anyone who wishes to see it. And at first I was like,
Yeah, I've heard about this.
at first I was like, are you for real? Like, is this real? And let me tell you, it is real and it is boring as hell. They actually did this, and it's called Con Plan 88811. It details a strategy to defend against a zombie attack. And this actually really comforted me that the government does have a plan because I sure don't, and I would just rely on the government to save me, even though obviously I don't have that much trust in them. It's nice to know that they thought about this, they put some work into it.
Yeah, like it's the least we deserve. Like if you're gonna like listen to everything we're saying and watch everything we do, the least you can do is protect us from zombies when they inevitably come to eat our brains.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I'm still not even sure that they don't create the zombies. They probably create them and then have a plan for how to stop them, you know?
Wow, but then why create them?
To thin the herd, overpopulation is a real problem.
Dang, that's dark.
Dark but true. So the zombie threat summary it opens with discussing what types of zombie threats that they're prepared for. Radiation zombies, pathogenic zombies. They've really thought of all the kinds of zombies that we'll need to encounter.
Mhm.
Evil magic zombies actually made the list. If you would like to know what an evil magic zombie is, according to our US government, it's a zombie life form created via some form of occult experimentation in what might otherwise be referred to as, quote, evil magic, unquote.
I love that. Who made this? And this is actually on like a .gov website.
Okay, I don't know because I accessed it through a different website, but yeah, I'm 99% sure this is real because I was reached to it through the CDC website, so
Is this what they were doing when the government was shut down? Like, were they just drafting
maybe.
this? They were like,
I hope
priorities,
so.
people, priorities.
Also, there's space zombies. Originating from space or created by toxic contamination of the Earth environment via some form of extraterrestrial toxin or radiation. I wonder if this counts as proof as extraterrestrial life being known by the government, but then again, maybe not.
I think like they're so like protective of admitting the secret that aliens exist that whenever they do come down, they're gonna be like, nope, they're not aliens, they're just space zombies, everyone, because that's like less scary question mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Another another type of zombie they're worried about, which I'm not sure if you came across this, so I don't want to steal your thunder. But apparently in 2006, there was a documentation of zombie chickens taking over California.
No, I did not come across this.
Okay, so they put zombie or chicken zombies as an option of something we might have to defend ourselves against. So keep an eye out if you have a farm, if you have any chickens. I know you do, Andre. So
Whatever. Chickens are zombies. Like they just walk around pecking at the ground at like random intervals. They have directionless. Like,
oh man. So this whole plan that the US government came upon basically keeps insisting that within 30 to 40 days, the zombie pathogen or the zombie apocalypse should be over, given that the zombies have fed enough that they can begin to starve to death. So once the zombies have all starved to death, we can start rebuilding, which I've never heard of that before, and The Walking Dead sure ain't. Is it over yet? I don't know,
I
but I
mean,
feel like
one, I don't think it's over. Maybe it is. But two, yeah, I don't think zombies usually starve to death. I think if
yeah,
anything, they would just decompose, and so like we'd be over the apocalypse in like a couple of months when like the bodies rot and like they stop working, right? Because they're dead bodies. Like those muscles and
yeah.
joints aren't gonna last much longer. But like I don't think they'd starve.
Right. I don't know. It's because it's a very calming idea that it could just all be over if they just starve to death and then we can start over. But then, well, how do we do that? That's another issue altogether. I just always assume that they would live forever because they are undead.
Well,
If it
actually,
is a
it does make sense that maybe they could starve to death because it depends on the kind of zombie. Like if it's the kind of zombie that's just a person that's alive but they have some weird neurotoxin like implanted into them, then yeah, they could just starve to death. If it's an actual undead person, like dead and came back to life, then yeah, they probably can't.
yeah, if it's the magic zombie, it probably can't.
Yeah.
So we have to be prepared for every type of zombie. So among the many chapters of this very long zombie apocalypse plan, there's a lot of information on how to handle a zombie corpse or otherwise, how to handle an infected person, what to do and what to wait for in terms of is the government going to update you, how to know if the government is making any big strides towards that. So if anyone's interested, look that up. It's pretty fun, pretty interesting, a little boring, very organized. And that leads us to the CDC.
Mm.
So the CDC actually has its own zombie preparedness webpage with many resources. I would advise everyone to go check it out. It's a fun time. So this is how I kind of based my zombie apocalypse plan
Okay.
is off the CDC because if anyone knows the Center of Disease Control, I feel
Oh,
like
I
they know what
thought
they're
it
doing.
stood for cool die C word. Um,
Oh my god. Well, I told you I wanted to die originally, and you said that wasn't cool. I don't know what you want. All right. So, according to the CDC, it is imperative that when you're on the move, you have 1 gallon of water per person per day. So, you should stock up on non perishable items of food that you can eat regularly, medications, prescription, and otherwise, tools and supplies such as a utility knife, duct tape, battery powered radio, etc., household bleach, soap, towels, any other type of hygiene equipment, clothing and bedding such as a warm blanket and a change of clothes, important documents, copies of your driver's license, passport, and birth certificate. You know,
I mean, this just sounds
that's,
like any emergency, honestly.
yeah, first aid supplies. Yeah. So that's what you would need. And with that in mind, I'll just dive right into my plan. So plan A is very, very simple. Plan A is that I just get bitten and become a zombie and then I kill everyone around me.
That's not a plan.
It is a plan. Defecting is a plan. I am out of shape. I don't have a job. I don't know why I would want to survive. You know what I mean? Like,
That's so grim.
yeah,
You're
well,
like,
that's
it's
why I'm
been
the
a
perfect
cool
zombie.
ride. Bye.
Right, at least I lived long enough to see a zombie apocalypse. Like, hey, who gets to say that? Oh, I wonder what would happen to the ghosts that are haunting the world when the zombies come. Would they get bored because they'd have to haunt zombies?
I think so.
Would
That's
the aliens come and fix
that's a
us?
pretty amazing thought. I would never think of that. Yeah, that's poor ghosts. Yeah, they'd probably get bored. They'd be out of a job.
Yeah, shit. All right, and then plan B, and have you know, I put some thought into this. So, if for some reason I'm lucky enough to survive the initial wave of chaos that is zombies killing every single person in my town, probably systematically because they're smart zombies,
Hmm.
and for some reason I manage to survive without going into Reading for a Chipotle burrito because you know my ass is gonna do that in zombie apocalypse, I'm going to do as follows.
I mean, honestly, I understand that because you'd think like this is the last Chipotle burrito I'm ever gonna have. Like I have to do this. So I get it.
It's true. And I just feel like in times of stress and in times of actual disaster, the first thing people do is they run to the shopping mall to stock up on shit.
Yeah,
And you probably shouldn't do that.
yeah.
So I'm going to pack up some canned foods. I'm going to get a first aid kit. I'm going to get a battery powered radio, some rubbing alcohol, a blanket, some hiking boots because I already have some hiking boots, and a water bottle with a self purifier so that just in case the zombie virus is transferred through water, I'm
Oh,
drinking clean water.
man.
And then I'm going to grab a baseball bat because we have a lot, and a knife. So that's kind of my that's my machinery or equipment, and
I love survivalist Shannon. This is so
well, I just
cool.
want you to know right now. This is a lot of stuff, and I have a weak back, and I can't lift very much. So I say I'm packing this, right? But unless there's someone to help me with the carrying, I don't think I'm gonna get that far. I think I'm gonna have to lay down after like a mile.
You're just gonna be carrying it in front of you in like a supermarket cart. Like
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So just for some geographical help with this, I mean, I already gave away where I live. Please don't kill me. I know that I say I'm sad, but everyone says that.
there's already en- there's already enough people there that can kill you. So
That's true.
don't worry about
Yeah,
outsiders.
so basically, I live in the country where people have lots of horses and cattle and goats, and I live next to a creek. So my
Hmm.
plan is to steal a horse first and foremost. I'm gonna take a horse as long as like I check and make sure the people are already dead. Like I don't think they'll mind. They might need their horse. You know, technically they own it. I'm gonna steal their horse. I'm gonna ride that horse to the creek and I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna camp out. I'm gonna patrol for some zombies, and I'm gonna go back to my house and I'm gonna feed my horse, and then I'm just gonna boil all the water because we have a fireplace, and I'm just gonna live in my home until the zombies discover my ass. And I feel like this is a pretty reasonable plan because I do live in the country, and I feel like you're safer in the country in a zombie apocalypse rather than being in the
I
city.
mean, there are less people in the country, so like the zombies will probably group there. They'll probably group in cities, but um but I did read when I was like doing my research that I can't believe that I call it research as if like but that maybe staying in your house in your home isn't great. Like you always want to keep moving until you know how the zombies work, whether this thing spreads through water. Like it's just I don't know. But like I would love to just be able to stay in my house. That seems very reasonable to me, but a lot of people seem to disagree. So anyway, go on.
Well, I think eventually I would probably leave. I think I don't know. I guess it just depends because then the other issue becomes how do I get somewhere far away when it's probably really hard to get gas into your car without like we have automated systems now, so I feel like it's a lot difficult. It's a lot more difficult to get free gas. Like, how would you break into that shit? Like, I feel like you'd have to keep stealing cars and stuff. And like, obviously,
Yeah.
I could just take the horse all the way to a different state, but like, this isn't 1880. I don't know how to actually care for a horse.
Yeah. If these are fast zombies at all, honestly, even if they're not, like your horse could get bitten. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and I can see myself cutting open my horse and hiding in it for warmth if I had to. Like it's all a bad situation. And I don't really have that survivalist instinct in me anyway, so like I think I would just probably sit down with my horse and let it kick me in the head repeatedly until I was dead at
Uh,
least. Um but given that I can't do that, I can't opt out. I'm gonna take it to Montana. I'm either gonna drive or ride my horse to Montana because I do have family up there, and it's one of the least populated places in America.
yeah.
The thing about Montana though is it gets really cold in the winters, and I don't think I could handle that, especially in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. You'd probably survive better in warmer climates.
Yeah. Anyway, if I get there, I'm gonna grow a garden, I'm gonna hunt some deer, and I'm gonna wait for the government to say that all the zombies are pretty much dead, and then I'm gonna go get a Chipotle burrito.
Fair. Honestly, fair. That's not a bad plan. Not a bad plan. It's a plan. Um, I I have one that involves like guns and like moving around and basically becoming like a nomad for a while. It's kind of I based it off of like this guy's plan that I read online. But first, I want to talk about ways that the apocalypse. Sorry, the apocalypse um, could actually happen. So you were talking earlier about like different kinds of zombies, and like the reason there are different kinds is because a zombie apocalypse could happen for different reasons. So, I got this article and I read it. It was really good. It was by David Wong. He's actually the author of what's it called? John Dies at the End. Have you ever read that?
Oh, I've
Uh,
heard a lot about it.
yeah, yeah. So like he's funny. He does like scary stuff, but he's funny. Um, so he explained that according to him, the way he sees it, there's like 5 ways a zombie apocalypse could happen. Like actually, like plausibly. The first one would be brain parasites. So basically, there's actually already a brain parasite that like half of the human population has, but it doesn't really like affect a lot of people.
Huh.
It's called Toxoplasmosa
The
gondii,
Republican Party?
and
What?
yeah, and it's basically like it makes other animal zombies, just not us. So this bug infects rats, but it can only breed inside the intestines of a cat. Which, by the way, like when nature made that, she fucked up. So the parasite like knows that it needs to get inside a cat, and so like while it's in a rat, it'll like fuck with the rat's brain and make the rat like scurry towards like where cats hang out, so so the rat will get
Oh
eaten
my god.
against like its will. It's terrifying. Like it messes with your
That's
brain. Sorry.
diabolical.
Yeah, and so like the cat eats the rat, and then like the parasite can reproduce, whatever. There's actually I remember watching this video recently. There's like similar parasites like all over the animal kingdom, but they affect different animals. Like there is a like shit like a water parasite in the Amazon. It's some kind of like worm. Actually might not be just in the Amazon, it might be like everywhere, but it's this like worm like parasite that lives in crickets, but it actually needs like water to be able to like breed, like reproduce. And so like it'll get inside a cricket, but then it'll like make a cricket like travel to a body of water against its own will and basically drown itself. And then once the worm knows like, there's a video, like a Nat Geo video about this, and it's fucking gross. I'm gonna send it to you. Once like like the thing senses that the cricket is in water, like it'll like come out the cricket's ass, and like it's long worm. You're like, how did that fit inside the cricket, or how did the cricket not die? But I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So there's that. So there's parasites that do that. There's parasites that fuck with your brain. Basically, they can make you a zombie, and this is one of them. And it works in rats. And basically, the article is like, what if it worked in humans? Because humans already have it anyway. Like half of us already have it, mainly because we've come into contact with it through like I don't know, like feces, like cat feces somehow, which like makes sense. You know, like that shit flies around in the air. Everyone in the world has
I
cats,
love
so
cats.
um,
I probably have
yeah.
it.
So look, again, it's that kind of thing. Like it can't really affect us. Like if your dog has a cold, like you can't get a cold from your dog, but it is in us, and like all it would take would be like a mutated version of this toxoplasmosis parasite, and then maybe it can do to us what it does to the fucking rat. So
Oh man.
there's that. um that's actually like apparently the least likely to like work, but I just think it's super terrifying. um yeah, and like apparently it wouldn't take forever for such a parasite to evolve, just because like humans are really good at creating biological weapons, and so like if one government really wanted to, maybe they could create like an evolved version of that and like intentionally put that out to I don't know, you know, it's
Yeah.
biological warfare, it's a thing. So
Um,
there's
I have a
that, very
question.
comforting.
So
Yes.
there's like ways you can mutate these viruses, like you said, or whatever. But let's just say, for instance, that they didn't. Let's say that they used the tapeworm one, and they put it in humans, and then the directive isn't for them to eat humans. It's go find a body of water and drown yourself. Is that possible? Because that fucks me up.
Ooh,
Because I
I
have a
mean, yeah.
phobia of drowning.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, right? Like that's what these parasites do. They basically like mess with your neurological system, and they make you do things. They kind of like get in your
This
brain,
reminds me of The
and
Happening.
like from what it yeah, yeah, it's literally that. Oh my god, I love that movie. Even though everyone hates it apparently. And I can't believe I didn't think of that when I was reading this stuff.
Yeah.
It's totally The Happening. That's basically what it is. Scariest thing about The Happening, which people seem to hate because it wasn't like a concise reason for why that happened. But that was my favorite part because it's
Uh
like
huh.
it could have been anything and you'd never know, and it just went away. Um, Very bizarre. Oh, until it didn't. Because if you watch like the ending of the movie, it's like all of a sudden it happens again, but like in France this
Well, it
time.
was the trees,
Um,
right? Like the nature.
it wa- yeah, but like, oh, I think that was like the theory that like nature was trying
Yeah.
to like protect itself, but I didn't buy that. Maybe I'm like misremembering, but I think there might have been like a like some alien like
Well,
subcontext in
also
there. I
Bird
don't know.
Box kind of did a very,
Um,
very similar thing, but it was way more fantastical.
It was more fantastical. Also, like the original the original script had did have like the monsters
Oh,
like visualized. It still didn't like fully explain a lot about them, but you could like see them. Like there was gonna be a scene in the movie where you could like see
interesting.
the monsters, but they cut that out for like mystery factor, which I like actually. I think it's a good thing in movies. The scariest thing you can imagine is the scariest thing you can imagine, and so
Yeah.
I think that works. Um, to leave that up to audiences. Okay, so number 4, neurotoxins. So what is this? It's basically the Resident Evil 5 video game. If you've ever played it, which I did briefly, it's fucking terrifying. So basically, there's like this certain kind of poison that can slow your bodily functions to the point that you'll be considered dead. It's what you talked about. Um, the Japanese blowfish, right, is one of those. There's more than one kind of poison of this, but that's one example. And basically, like, it slows your heart rate down so much that you basically seem dead to the like average person or to a really bad doctor. The victims can be brought back under the effects of a drug, or chemicals, like alkaloids, for example, that then will leave the person in like a trance-like state with no memory, but still be able to perform simple tasks like eating, sleeping, moaning, and shambling, and whatever. So and this goes into the whole like, oh, this started in Haiti, like slave labor, like it touches on that, this article. So I thought it was really interesting that you brought it up as well. um it mentions Dr. Wade Davis, who was the first person to write very famous, like the first books about this kind of zombie. They were fiction, but still very popular. And the article also references how the word zombie does come from Haiti, and it points to one specific story, which I want to like tell you about. It's the story of Clairvius
Oh.
Narcisse. He was a Haitian guy who was declared dead by two doctors, and he was buried in 1962. But they found him wandering around the village where he had died 18 years later. And it turns out, as you might have guessed it, that the local voodoo priest had been using chemicals to basically like zombify him and then put him to work on sugar plantations. It's fucked up. Yeah, and for 18 years, I guess like his family was like didn't know that he was still alive. So yeah, like next time you like are pouring coffee into your like sugar into your coffee, remember that like maybe it was a zombie that like harvested that,
Oh.
you know. This one, this one was just sad, but yeah, neurotoxins, they're a thing. I still like the first one better, but okay, number three, a real rage virus. Now we all know Miss Mad Cow disease, uh, but what if mad cow disease not only made you like stumble and like I don't know, have like balance problems and get sick and vomit, but it actually made you like aggressive and like cannibalistic.
Mm.
So basically, the theory is like if like a disease like mad cow like evolved somehow, it could like become like able to I don't know, turn into like a widespread brain infection of the rage variety, and like do that to you, like cause all kinds of like hallucinations and muscle twitching and seizures, and then like it could fuck with your brain even further and make you like I don't know, eat your children. It's basically like it's kind of an extension of the first one, the parasitic one, but this time it's just an actual like disease, like a virus, and it evolves. Like mad cow disease already like the one that's real, the one that exists, attacks like a cow's like spinal cord and brain, and so like a stronger version of that that also got to humans, like who knows what it could do.
You mentioned
So
you mentioned
that's that.
hallucinations. What if it
Yeah.
makes you think that everyone else is the zombie? Or everyone else is
Ooh.
big rare steak, just ready to be bitten into.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah. Um yeah. The article just pointed to something really interesting, which is like if you think this idea is far fetched, like that, like a disease could do all that to your brain. Remember that like the disease doesn't actually have to do a lot. All it has to do is basically like turn off like serotonin reception, and you become like a mindless killing machine. And apparently, it's true because I've tested it by putting rats in like death match style
Oh.
cages and watch them like turn on each other. And all it takes is like a disease that destroys the brain's ability to absorb serotonin, um to like yeah to make people like aggressive and like want to kill each other. It's basically like 28 days later. So yeah, so lit. um yeah, so everyone, it could be like super mad cow that does
Yeah.
this in. um so I thought that was interesting. Now neurogenesis is the next one. This one's interesting. So what is this? Um okay, so stem cell research. You know
Oh
about it,
yeah.
you've heard about it, it's controversial, right? Okay, so the whole thing with stem cells is that they can basically be used to regenerate dead cells. Particularly of interest to this podcast is the concept of neurogenesis, which is again like how you can regrow dead tissue. In this case, specifically, regrow dead brain tissue. Like with evolved stem cell research, like we could actually
Hmm.
accomplish that. And like, what's the consequence of that? Like, how does this result in zombies? Well, um, like science can pretty much like save you from anything but brain death. Like if you're dead, like they can swap organs out and whatnot, but if your brain turns to mush, you're dead. Okay, but um, if they're able to regrow like brain tissue, which actually like they've actually already like regrown the brains of like comatose head trauma patients, like people who are actually in a coma from like being hit in the head. Like that's a thing that they've done. So if they can like evolve this technology further and do it on like a larger scale and faster, it's basically like you're just waiting for like the bomb to explode. Like it's just a matter of time until people have the ability to keep like a dead body in a state of like suspended animation, and then it can be brought back to life later, and then you have fucking zombies in the streets. So, thoughts so far?
But couldn't this also be used for,
uh,
like, immortality for people just to live forever?
yes, but the thing is that like it's not guaranteed that like the brain is gonna like regrow fine. Like, okay, here's the thing. I mean, stem cell research, yeah, it can be used for that if you're still alive, and then like I don't know, it's like the stem cell miracle is done to you, then you just extend your life. But if you're dead and they're using stem cell research to bring you back, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be back
Oh,
like
okay.
normal. Um, because like apparently when you die, like the first thing that goes is like the cortex, and that's the thing that basically gives you like your personality and like your human reactions, and everything else is like primitive motor systems basically, and if you're dead and the first thing to go is the cortex, like maybe by the time they bring you alive your cortex is already like completely rotten, or sorry, like already completely gone, or they have a hard time regrowing it or something, that the technology as good as it is like can't fully regrow your cortex, and so all you're left with is like your like primitive
Oh.
motor systems, and like you're basically just like with your arms out in the street walking and moaning.
Oh god.
And yeah, so also like yeah, you actually don't need the cortex to survive. Very very interesting. All you need is a stem and you'll still be able to like mindlessly walk and eat people. This is not about the zombie chickens, but this article does mention chickens in this context, and it's really interesting. This is actually how chickens can keep walking around after they've been beheaded, because you don't need your, well, I guess the whole head, but you specifically don't need the cortex. All you really need is the stem, and if you got off a head, you the stem usually still stays on the body because the stem is pretty low. It's like at the beginning of your neck. So fun fact. There's also like one case of a chicken that lived without its
Oh,
head
I
for
heard
18
about
months. I
that,
don't know if you ever
yeah.
heard of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, so there's that. There's some science behind this. So like basically you take a brain dead patient, you use these like techniques to regrow the brain stem, and now you have like a mindless body with no thoughts and no personality, and it's just like instincts and impulses. That's all it works off of, and like it's a
But why would
fucking
you want
zombie. I
that?
mean, this you wouldn't, but let's say someone does.
Okay.
That's why. But I mean, there is a failure in this, which is like them being nothing but impulses and instincts, like wouldn't necessarily make them
Yeah.
aggressive, at least not 24/7. It'd probably make them aggressive whenever they got hungry, but like not 24/7. So that's one, like that's one flaw in this. But apparently it's like more likely than the other ones, which is why the article places it higher, just because like stem cell research is already something that we've advanced for some time, and so I don't know. He thinks it's pretty bad. I still just love the first one the most. The fucking parasite, because that makes total sense to me. And I've seen the video and I just can't shake it
Yeah.
from my head, and it totally looks like a zombie. So to me, that's just like uber convincing. But anyway, the number one that he actually, I did not expect this at all. That this guy actually places in his article for like most likely to happen and most terrifying is
Huh.
nanobots. Um, yeah. So apparently, and this theory can be seen in Michael Crichton's novel Prey. Michael Crichton's the guy that wrote Jurassic Park. Um, and I guess he has another novel, and it's called Prey, which I have not read, and it must be about like nanobots in your brain, which is what the article goes on to talk about. He's like, as seen in the novel, basically what this like theory would be is like nanobots are technology that we've been working with for a while. To clarify, they're just like microscopic self-replicating robots that can like build or destroy anything. And again, there's a lot of money being poured into this, and so the article thinks that at some point, like nanobots will destroy mankind because scientists will be reckless and like, I don't know, the whole like humans do things because they can, not because they should, and so it's gonna get out of control, just like
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, I guess, with the dinosaurs, and it's gonna happen. And like how this results in zombies is, the article states that scientists have already created like a nano cyborg, by fusing a tiny silicone chip to a virus. The first thing they found is like these cyborgs can still operate for up to a month after the death of the
Ugh.
host. um, and so like I'll come back to this later. Because I want to keep going in order with the article. It's really interesting what it says next. So like the article mentions that according to studies, like within a decade, apparently we'll have nanobots that can actually like crawl inside your brain and set up
Oh
neural
no.
connections to replace
No
scanning
thanks.
units. Whether this would be used for like, I don't know, patients with like psychological disorders, or psychiatric disorders, or for like brain injury, like it's not clear, but the point is that the technology will be available in the
Y'all
near
ain't putting
future.
anything in my
And of course,
brain.
like,
Okay, I got enough going on up there without some government person like injecting, I don't know, porn into a microbot that goes into my brain and makes me see porn 24 hours a day. That's like the least bad thing that could happen too. They could just give me like all the secrets of the entire US and then, just kill me. I don't know.
so basically, like in summary, this theory is telling us that someday there's going to be nanobots in our brains, and these nanobots are going to be programmed to keep functioning
Oh,
after you die. So this is what I wanted to come back to, right? They can form their own neural pathways, and meaning that they can use your brain to keep operating your limbs after you've died, basically. And they can keep doing this presumably until like you like rot to pieces
oh
like
good.
in the street, right? So the nanobots will be programmed to self-replicate, and so the death of the host will mean the end of the nanobots. And like to preserve themselves, like these nanobots are going to need to transfer to a new host, and like therefore like the train thought of this article, like the logic is like the last attack of the nanobot zombie is going to be to bite a hole in a healthy victim, like to let the nanobots like stream in and set up camp in the new host, which makes total sense, right?
It's so vile. It's like if bugs and robots had a baby. It reminds
I
me of
know.
like scarabs from the mummy.
I know, but yeah, it's kind of like that. So, like, once it's inside the new healthy host, it can shut down the part of the brain that resists, which is the cortex, and it just leaves the brain stem intact. And now they have someone who just like reacts to like walk, eat, like walk, and that's it. And then they have another like soldier in the army of the undead. Like,
Is this what Hollywood is coming to? Is this what happened to Avril Lavigne?
yeah, yeah. They just cut off her cortex. They just left the stem, and they were like, keep making trash pop. And she's like, I must keep making trash pop. Um, I love that our scary podcast always has weird gay pop culture undertones.
It needs to.
Um,
That's what the people are here for.
so that's number one, and that surely is the most terrifying. It's also I'll give it to it. Like it is the most likely, I suppose. It makes sense, but I just still love the first one the most. Um,
You love that
like
nitty gritty horror.
it's just so fucking gross. Like nanobots feel very like sterile because like they're just little robots and like, but like an actual parasite, like ugh, and it's like it's another biological being and it's just like there and it's well, it's parasitical. That's what makes it so scary. Like it's living within you. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd be a terrible pregnant mother, by the way. Um, um, yeah. Okay, hot take. Babies are just parasites living in your body for 9 months
Absolutely. They're
and then
feeding
living in your
off
house
you,
for
they're
18
pissing
years.
inside you. Yeah, and then 18 years later, they're still complaining that you don't have the correct internet connection for Fortnite. Like, I don't know why
Um,
everyone isn't pro choice. Like, come on.
yeah, like the longest, the longest like living, the longest attaching parasite.
Yeah.
Um, Moms, don't come for us. Listen, we stand. I It's because of my mom, so I get it. But yeah, that's what I have. So thoughts? What's your favorite?
I like the nanobots. I am all for that science fiction, juicy stuff. I like how it could have so many options and so many good uses too. Like they could be using nanobots to study cancer, but we all know they're just going to start the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, they're going like straight for zombification. So
We need to have an
um,
episode on immortality, maybe, possibly. I don't know, because I think that's scary. Like, I think that's scarier than death because the ways in which people will try to reach that.
what? Like, okay, like let's have a really really short version of that right now. What do you mean? Like, what's an example?
Well, for instance, when you were talking about the nanobots and then something earlier, I was thinking about this short story. It was published in 1995 by Greg Egan. It's called Learning to Be Me. Everyone should read it because it's amazing. It's only like 6 pages long, but basically,
Hmm.
it's in this society or like this future U.S. where everyone at the age of like 21 gets the chance to live forever. But the caveat is that it's you don't really know if it's you anymore because it's basically they download your brain into a microchip and then they put it into like an eternal body. And so the entire time the narrator's struggling to be like, am I going to do this? What if I actually die? Like, is it still me? And then at the end you find out that he's already undergone it. And so the entire time it wasn't him, it was just the microchip. And that's terrifying. Like, that's so scary.
Okay, wait. So I hate this.
Yeah, I hate it. It's so
Wait.
scary.
So it worked then? Like it was still him because it was his consciousness thinking those things, right?
Well, it worked as far as you can think that it worked, but he says that I recognize that the person who was scared to have this operation wasn't really me, that was the human. I'm just this microchip. Like that's how it ends, is he says like
But he's not just a microchip. He is that human's consciousness downloaded onto a microchip. But like,
but the struggles
uh,
are different now because he doesn't need to worry about the human things, you know? Like he says like the fears went away the moment I was changed or whatever, you know? Like it's very like it's
I guess.
objective.
I mean,
It's
I would say it worked for like most intents and purposes. Like the transfer worked then, because like
But did it work, or did you just kill yourself at 21 for the idea of immortality? And
I
that's just a
mean,
computer.
no. It worked because even if you did kill yourself, like, do you know that you did? Does it matter? Okay, listen, hear me out. It's the same thing with like beam me up, Scotty, like, fucking particle theory. So it's basically like, you know how in Star Trek. Actually, by the way, beam me up, Scotty. Those words have actually never been uttered in Star Trek universe. But anyway, it's like Scotty beam me up or something like that. But you know how in Star Trek, like they beam him up, like they become like molecules, like, and then they're like up in the spaceship and like the thing.
Uh-huh.
um so like there's like a sci-fi, not really sci-fi but actual science theory that it's like, no, that wouldn't be possible because you can't just like remoleculize a body without killing it, essentially. Like we, like that
Mm-hmm.
technology is just not feasible. It's not that like we don't have it yet because we're not technologically advanced enough. Is that even in theory it doesn't make sense because science, and I don't know, I'm not that smart. But the point is that that's what these people say, that seemingly know what they're talking about. They're like particle physicists. And so, okay, but here's the thing. But you wouldn't know that. Like, if it did work and you like went back into the spaceship, like, and you're there, you wouldn't know that you just killed yourself because you would be like rematerialized with that consciousness, with that body. You wouldn't know that you did just kill yourself and you're just a clone now because that's what you'd be. You'd be a clone. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Well, I think it raises a lot of questions about consciousness and identity, especially the short story, because I guess that's the question. Like, is there a soul? Like, does it really matter? Or can it just be copied onto a fucking flash drive and then that's you still? Is it still you? Can the soul and the mind exist without each other? And then it's just like, well, if you're not religious and you don't believe in a soul, then obviously it is you. But I don't know. And even the clone concept, like, I am a fan of Orphan Black, so like every single clone is a different version of you. So it's not always going to be you. Like you're not always going to have that same consciousness. I don't know. It's
I guess,
scary.
but like if you don't know that you like
So you're
killed.
just saying ignorance is bliss?
Well, but that's the thing. Like, even if you do know that you just killed you, like, you won't actually. It's so fucking bizarre. You know what I mean? Because like, you won't actually. I don't know, like feel bad because you'll be like, but I'm still alive. I'm right here. Like, and also that person that you just killed, aka you, like that body, like won't actually suffer because it just died instantly. But also, like, would you even consider that death if you're literally right here in the spaceship now, rematerialized, thinking about it? Like, you're you. You feel like you.
But it's not you.
So fucking bizarre, isn't it? Um,
It's not you.
it's
You're
kind of like
gone.
it's kind of like that, like short story, like template that's like, oh my god, what is it? Like, what if every time you go to sleep, like when you wake up, you actually just died in your sleep?
Oh, it's
Uh,
awful.
but like,
Technically,
again,
that's not too far off because the hope for humanity is that you change every day and get better. But for some people, they just get worse.
again, I want to go back to just like, oh, ignorance is bliss, but like, one, it wouldn't matter if that was the case because there's literally nothing you can do about it. Like, if you don't sleep, then you will actually die forever. And two, like, I don't know. Like, even if it is real, like, and that is the case, like, could you feel bad at all for the fact that you just quote unquote like killed someone, or that someone just died? You didn't even kill them; it wasn't your fault. But you probably can. You're probably more worried about the fact that you're gonna die tonight when you go to sleep. But
Yeah.
like, you won't really, because your consciousness tomorrow will think that nothing happened. But actually, that's not true. It'll be someone else's consciousness. It's just so, oh my god,
Yeah.
this makes my brain so much, Shannon. I'm sorry, I'm like rambling now, but yeah.
Well, the other aspect of that story is that you can opt out of it and you can just live your life and die. And for some people, that's just way more scary than just ending it now and starting as if nothing happened with this, intellectual
Well,
consciousness inside the chip.
yeah, but they don't know that they'd be ending it. It's just like, it's more scary to them to just live their lives because they feel like they're foregoing the opportunity of immortality.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the story, like, do the chips go into someone else's body, or do you just become a chip and
That's not really clear. I kind of thought that it gets into a different body, but I can't remember because it would have to be able to regenerate throughout centuries. So yeah, I think it is like either a fake, like a robotic body or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember reading it, and the main character said that his uncle or something opted not to do it because his wife had died before the technology had been created. And so he thought that if he lived forever without her, then he wouldn't be with her. And that too is just really sad. It's
yeah.
scary. Yeah, anyway, I'm obsessed with that story.
Maybe we'll talk about that. Like, yeah, immortality. Never mind. Great idea. Great everything. Everything we touched on, we'll touch on again on a different episode in more length.
So, what's your plan, Andre?
Oh my god, I didn't even talk about that. We ran out of time. Oh, whatever. It was basically like, it's kind of like your plan, but it has more guns. Um, and it has more cardio.
Have you ever
Uh,
fired a gun?
I have fired a gun exactly 3 or 4 times, maybe.
Okay.
And it was the same gun, and it was like at a shooting range. It was actually with friends of ours.
I went too with them one time, and I shot
Yeah,
once because I found it kind of boring, and then I shot another one when I was like 11 with my dad in a forest, and the blowback like it almost knocked me over.
that's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't get a lot of that. Maybe like they properly trained me or whatever, or it was just not a very big weapon. But anyway, yeah, more weapons than your plan, more cardio than your plan. I'm actually trying to stay alive. I don't want to just opt out. Hello. Um.
But like, does it matter? Because you won't know when you're dead, Andre.
Oh, fuck you. Yes, a matter of fact, I'm gonna suffer through that. That's different. Like, it's gonna be a
Is
slow,
it
painful death.
is it the process? It's like the fact that you'll be like eaten alive that you don't like.
Yeah, I mean, no. Like, to be honest, the fact that my life will be over because like my like living is all I know.
Okay,
And
that's
so
fair.
it's really like, I think the fear of death for humans is really just a fear of the unknown. It's nothing else. But yeah, so what? That's a justifiable fear. Hello, I'm just human. Is that bad to fear that?
Well,
Uh,
for me, my automatic instinct is I don't want to live without my family and friends if they're zombies. I would rather die. It's
You can
not
make
necessarily the fear of
friends.
death. No,
You
I
can make
can't.
friends.
Everyone's a
Also,
zombie.
no, also you're not everyone. You can't be the only one left. You're not actually Will Smith and I Am
I am
Legend. And
Rambo, bitch.
even he wasn't the only one. Also, like you say that now, but like your survival instinct, which is like your stem, like that's what we're talking about, right? Not your cortex, but your stem, you're just like your caveman brain that's gonna be like you have to keep yourself alive. Is you say that now, but when it comes down to it, you're not gonna be able to just like let yourself be eaten or kill yourself.
Bitch,
Like you
I have panic attacks at least once a month. I don't got no lizard brain. My lizard brain is out of control.
I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, basically like stock up as many things as I can in like a big car because well, not even just a big car, any car, but that just has amazing mileage. But if it is like a truck, then that's great. Basically, what I've learned is that like a good zombie apocalypse plan just requires you to become a redneck. Um, like it's pretty it's true, it's just true. Like you
Oh
need a
man.
truck, you need big wheels, you need weapons, you need a bunker. If you don't have a bunker, you need to like build yourself one or find shelter in like a very sparsely populated area like the boonies. So like yeah, so I'll gather supplies, get on a car, travel, because apparently staying in your home is unsafe, especially if you live in a populated area like even a small city, because the zombies will eventually like crack through your windows and kill you. So you have to keep moving at least until you figure out what the zombies are, how they work, what kills them, and then like you and the rest of the survivors after like a couple of years or whatever can actually get together and actually try to just fight them off, kill the rest of them off to actually like rebuild society. But the first couple of years you're supposed to just run, and it's like each man like on their own kind of thing. um
How are you gonna
and
get out of Southern California? The traffic's insane even when people aren't dead.
yeah, well, I guess like this guy was like you have to like drive through like rivers and woods and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I'd find a way. If I really can't find a way, I guess I just go in some house's basement because mine doesn't have one. And like yeah, I guess that would be my best bet. But preferably it is to keep moving. This guy he lives in the east, and he actually one of his points of his of this guy's plan that I like based mine off of was to actually like go west, because he was like there's less people in like the west, like the western part of the US. Well, not the whole west obviously because LA is super huge, but
Yeah.
he's like not west of the Rockies but like somewhat west. And he said that it was because like less people equals less zombies, and also like in the west there's like wide flat spaces, which means that like you'd see the zombies coming after you a little better. And he just like he felt like his survivability would increase in the warmer dry climate versus like the cold of the east, and those all make total sense to me. So I'd stay in California, maybe just go north though if possible, just because like it's more scarce population wise. And I don't know, like get some good walkie talkies, like make some friends if I can, we'd all travel together.
In this
um
scenario, how is your family? Are they okay?
Probably all dead, but like
Ah! Andre is the only survivor.
honestly, I love myself a little like soul survivor fantasy because I'm like I'm the one who made it. But like realistically, that would be fucking traumatic and awful. Um,
Yeah.
but I hope David lives. But if he doesn't, like at least I'd get to kill him and like like rage issues, like that's cool. Like at least you get to do that.
I
Um,
feel like he's more in my camp of just like whatever.
I'll ask him and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Um, and the other thing is, well, yeah, like to reiterate, you want to try and figure out, um, what the zombies like fear or how they die, like what ticks them, because that's how you'll be able to defeat them after some time. Like you want to know if they die without eating, if they like avoid sunlight, like in I Am Legend, or like if they were caused by like fucking I don't know, like a comet in space. Like you want to find their weakness.
You know,
And
I've been waiting till we got to this point to bring up Warm Bodies. Have you seen that movie?
I did. It was cute.
Can we talk about how love cured the zombies? Because that's ridiculous, and I'm here to tell you that is not how you're gonna get out of this.
You try kissing a zombie, you'll see how it does not work.
Yeah, I just thought that was so ridiculous. I'm like, no, it does not make their heart start beating again.
um so yeah, that's basically what I have. It It's like in the movies. I mean, it's very basic and very boring. You need a bunch of guns and a big car and to stuck up and to keep moving and to be tough. Um, which is like, yeah, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly why I stopped watching The Walking Dead. I just found it so boring.
I just found it depressing. Like after the first season, that's really all I watched ever. Like
Yeah.
years ago, I was like, oh, and then like I don't know, like some like Rick's like kid or something dies in some season. And so at that point, when I found out, I was like glad that I stopped watching the show when I did, because I was like, this show just gets depressing. All the people that you care for like die. All the characters that you like die.
Hmm.
The dad just like suffers and suffers and suffers, and I'm like, I can't watch that. Well, says the guy that loves Game of Thrones. I have no place to speak.
I don't watch that either.
Um, everyone dies. Spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was our episode, everyone. If you have any ideas for us for next episode, which we'll totally ignore because I think we're gonna do immortality.
Oh
but
my
for
god.
But for episode 20, hi, the big 2L. You can let us know by DMing us. We are at Talk Scary. So, shoot us some ideas if you have any. You can listen to us on all podcast listening platforms. We are on Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. And leave us a review if you like our podcast. You can leave us a review on any of those platforms. Shannon, do you have anything?
I do. I want you guys to know that this was an idea that spurred out of needing a lighthearted episode, and I'm not entirely sure that we actually accomplished that.
You
Um,
you can always count on me to make anything grim. So really, you're just shit out of luck if you're hoping to ever have a light episode of this podcast. Because
it's
I'm gonna
fair.
come out with like parasites, no Satan, no. So like, yeah,
Yeah. Oh my god. I have another small thing to say. I
yeah.
saw my neighbor, who's like this kind of crone, kind of mean woman who yells at everyone. I saw
Mhm.
her walking her goat down the road, and I was like driving by and I was like, "What's happening?" And she like gestured for the goat to follow her, and it like hopped along happily. And when I drove by, the goat was like standing on this mound of dirt majestically staring down at me, and I was like, "She's a witch and that's her familiar, and I will not accept anything else." It was weird.
Oh, that's funny. Is what's a familiar again? Is it just like your pet
It's like
or?
a little demon that takes the form of an animal that sucks on your blood
Oh,
and does your will for the devil.
I thought it was like the family member you have to kill to become a witch, but like the family member you have to like convert into an animal to become a witch.
Oh,
That would be
interesting.
interesting, wouldn't it? Kind of like Mara Salvatrucha, like you have to kill your mom to become part of the gang. Um,
Oh,
anyway,
mommy.
on that note, we'll see you guys next week with episode 19. We gotta do something for episode 20. Let's think about that.
Okay.
Um, and no large meals before bedtime. The Mothman is real. Believe in him. He'll comfort you. Good night.
Thank you for listening. Bye bye.